The Amish are part of a traditional Anabaptist Christian church fellowship, and they believe that God plays a personal role in their lives and communities, shaping the way they live. You might already know a bit about their lifestyle, but there are some surprising things about Amish women you probably haven't heard of. From their modest dress to faceless dolls, here are 20 things Amish women prefer to keep private. Number 20. They get pregnant young. The average age that women in America give birth is around 30. Women are now older when giving birth than they've ever been before, but Amish pregnancies start much earlier. They typically get married in their early 20s and start trying for children soon after. Most Amish families have between 6 to 8 children, with most Amish communities not believing in contraception. This is because Genesis 1 verse 28 says that God blessed them, and he said, "Be fertile and increase, fill the earth and master it, rule the fish of the sea, the birds of the sky, and all the living things that creep on earth." That basically means having as many kids as you can. You'll likely never see an Amish child without a sibling to play with. But what happens if an Amish woman gets pregnant out of wedlock? Well, that's a huge no-no. Premarital deeds are a grave sin since the act is sacred and should only be done within marriage. Women who get pregnant out of wedlock can be cast out of their community for what they did. However, there is a loophole. They could be forgiven if they marry the boy who got them pregnant. Widowers can also choose to marry women who got pregnant out of wedlock so they can all raise their children together. Number 19. They can drink alcohol. Alcohol is forbidden in many religions and communities, but some Amish people do like a tipple on the odd occasion. They might shun modern comforts, but, well, we all need something, right? That being said, not all Amish women can drink. It just depends on the specific rules for each Amish community. The Old Order Amish, the larger denomination of Amish people, allows Amish people to consume alcohol. However, the newer sect, known as New Order Amish, prohibits alcohol. This group split from the Old Order Amish in the 1960s over a few different rules related to tobacco, alcohol, and young people changing traditions. Some Amish people tend to believe that anything destructive to the body is wrong, which includes alcohol and tobacco. But New Order Amish people are a little looser around modern technology. They can travel by plane and use landline phones. However, just being in the Old Order doesn't mean you'll drink. The more conservative Amish people within the Old Order don't drink because they believe alcohol use is dangerous. So, whether or not they drink really just depends on which order they're in and the personal beliefs they hold. Side note, I live in Amish country, and I actually used to drink with an Amish guy who would go to the bar just to watch Eagles games. He could not tell his family, and he wouldn't tell me what would happen if they found out, but it was definitely not allowed. Number 18. They celebrate Valentine's Day. Amish communities may not celebrate many of the things other people do, but Valentine's Day is something they can get behind. Their celebrations just look a little different than most. What's more, how they choose to celebrate the day, and whether they do, can depend on their community and how conservative it is. Handwritten cards and gifts are commonly given on Valentine's Day. Married couples might have a special dinner where wives will prepare feasts at home. Sometimes the men will present lovely gifts to their wives. While it's not out of the ordinary for Amish people to buy gifts, most community members prefer handmade ones. After all, there can be so much more thought in a homemade gift. Baking, cooking, Amish baskets, and wooden furniture are all standard gift options. You can even buy these gifts from Amish communities to gift to non-Amish people, and I recommend it. They make some great furniture. Number 17. They have dress rules. You can walk into your local clothing store and buy whatever you want. Amish women can't. Like men, they must dress in plain clothing. Most women wear long-sleeved blouses or shirts with mid-calf length skirts and black or white ankle-length socks. They also cover their heads with a blue, purple, or black bonnet. These head coverings signify a commitment to humility and faith. Plus, the Bible says that every woman who prays or prophesies with her head uncovered dishonors her head. And just before you think they could at least wear patterns to liven up their outfits, they can't. Everything must be of a solid color, meaning no designs or prints. What about dressing up their outfits with accessories? Well, that's a firm no. They can't wear bracelets, earrings, or necklaces, as they believe that only vanity and greed can come from material goods. What Amish women wear can also depend on what they're doing and their status. For example, they typically wear gray aprons when working or engaged in labor of any kind. These are held in place with straight pins. If they're married, they swap out their standard bonnet for a white head covering called a cap. This head covering shows her commitment to both her faith and her marriage. Married women also wear black capes and aprons to formal gatherings and church services to emphasize modesty. And what about underwear? Surely, they can wear whatever they want, maybe a nice frilly piece? Absolutely not. Amish women wear full-length bloomers made from muslin or white cotton. Have you liked this video and subscribed to our channel yet? Well, do it now, or you'll only be allowed to wear full-length bloomers for the rest of your life. We will enforce that. Number 16. They don't wear makeup. If Amish women aren't even allowed to shave their legs, you can almost guarantee they're also not allowed to wear makeup, including nail polish. No lipstick, no eyeshadow, no foundation, no mascara, no nothing. They also can't get piercings or tattoos. Basically, if they aren't born with it, they can't have it. It's as simple as that. Most Amish people believe that wearing cosmetics draws attention to them, which can result in feelings of pride. Instead, they focus on inner beauty, which they obtain from leading a rewarding Christian life. But is it a firm rule? Well, it depends on whether you're a church member or not. When Amish girls go through their adolescent period called rumspringa, they aren't considered church members. During this period, they might wear cosmetics. There have also been rumors about some Amish women wearing light makeup, but it's really not common. You won't find Amish women browsing the shelves of their local makeup store. That's for sure. Number 15. They engage in bed courtship. Not all Amish families practice bed courtship anymore, but it's probably a lot more common than they say. After all, it's not exactly brunch conversation material. Bed courtship, also known as bundling, is when an Amish boy has a sleepover with a teenage girl he's courting. They sleep in the same bed but don't touch. In fact, one or both of them is usually bundled up in a blanket like a sausage. The teenage girl might also wear a special gown that you'd almost describe as a type of chastity belt. According to some online sources, it's not practiced nearly as much as it used to be, but those who still engage in the practice say that sleeping beside each other all night, being able to talk but not touch, teaches self-discipline. Bundling is not something you hear about in our modern everyday communities, but if you pay close attention to some TV shows, you might see it referenced in some way. For example, bundling was discussed in the TV show, A Discovery of Witches, and Anna Gunn's character in Deadwood also removes a bundling board from her bed. Number 14. They take care of hygiene. Knowing that women can't cut their hair or shave, you might assume that they can't practice any sort of self-care and that their hygiene might suffer if they didn't look after their hair and bodies. Women can't shave their armpits, but they are allowed to wear deodorant. If they didn't, the armpit hair might result in a strong body odor. They also bathe at least twice a week or more, depending on the type of community they live in, using well-drawn water in bathtubs. Now, teeth brushing isn't as common as you might expect. Many Amish people make teeth brushing a weekly event instead of a twice-daily one, as our dentists recommend. If Amish women must extract their teeth, they opt for dentures. And while many women in our local communities might appreciate long nails and take great care of them by painting them, Amish women don't. They clip their nails because it's far more practical for household chores and farm work. Number 13. They choose Bible names. When we're naming our own children, we pick a name we like and might check out what it means before writing it on the birth certificate. Amish women name their children differently. Rather than plucking a name out of thin air, most Amish women carefully choose one from the Bible. Sometimes the names are also derived from Greek or Latin. Many Amish women have multiple children, which means they have to go through this naming process more than once. They typically name their first few children with family names, often from grandparents on both sides of the family. As you might have guessed, having multiple identical names within the same family can get confusing. Often, nicknames and middle names are used to differentiate between them, but surprisingly, females aren't given middle names. Instead, they have an initial. This is often the first letter of her mother's maiden name or the first letter of her father's Christian name. If family members don't refer to another family member by their middle name or nickname, they use something about them to help identify them. For example, if a woman named Annie makes and sells quilts, she'd be called Annie the Quilt Maker. Number 12. Their dolls can't have faces. Browse the aisles of your local children's toy store, and you'll find all sorts of dolls with different faces and expressions. You might even base your purchasing decision on a doll's face, but that is definitely not the case in Amish communities. Amish rag dolls don't have faces. They just have white, blank, featureless heads. Their dolls are made from old, used clothing and have tiny versions of their everyday attire. The main reason they don't have faces is that Amish people believe that everyone is the same in the eyes of God. Dolls technically don't have faces because the Bible says, "Do not make graven images." But there's another theory that's bandied about from time to time. Rumor has it that the Amish don't want their dolls to have faces because demons could potentially possess them. Without eyes, ears, noses, and mouths, demons aren't able to possess the dolls and communicate with their children. The fact that these dolls also don't have fingers and toes adds some weight to this idea. Believe it or not, authentic Amish dolls are quite collectible to those outside Amish communities. Some have been known to sell for up to $1,000 each. Number 11. They have traditional roles. Think about the roles the women in your life hold in modern society. They can work, raise their families, and do everything that men can do. Amish women's roles are a bit more traditional. Okay, a lot more traditional. First and foremost, they are mothers and homemakers. Their number one job is to take care of the home and the children they bear with their husband. While they're at home with the kids, their husbands are out working to maintain their family's financial well-being. In saying that, there's more to the average Amish woman's day than meets the eye. While most women with young children don't work full-time, Amish women are allowed to work. Single women and those with older children can operate their own businesses or hold roles in other companies. They can even own the businesses that their husbands work in. Women can also vote in church and have a high standing in their communities. Sure, they're mainly subservient to men and do hold traditional roles, but they have more rights than you might think. Plus, studies have shown that Amish women are generally satisfied with their roles and gain satisfaction from productive roles in their society. Number 10. They don't cut their hair. Amish women don't cut their hair, and we're talking about all hair everywhere. Yes, Amish people believe hair is a sacred symbol of their devotion to God. If they were to cut it, it would be a shameful dismissal of their dedication. That's why most Amish women you see have incredibly long hair, often down to their waists. To handle hair of this length, they plait it and tuck it under their head coverings, or they neatly twist it into a bun. Amish communities follow the Bible to the letter, and there's specific mention of hair in 1 Corinthians 11 verses 5-6 in the New Testament, where Apostle Paul forbids women to cut their hair. While there's no specific mention of the type of hair they're not allowed to cut, Amish people take it to mean all hair, so they also don't shave their legs, armpits, or any other part of their body. They also don't style their hair aside from a braid or bun. They believe that styling hair is a form of vanity. It wouldn't make much sense to style it anyway since they mainly cover it under a head covering like a bonnet when they're out in public. Number 9. Weddings are special experiences. We might not share a lot in common with Amish communities, but weddings are one thing we do tend to see as similarly special experiences. Amish people start looking at who they might like to marry from around 16 years old. By the time they turn 20, they are ready to start planning for marriage and starting a family. Now, weddings are, of course, less flashy than most of ours. There's no kiss at the altar, no wedding dance, and no photographer to capture the day so you can remember it in photo form forever. But that's not to say they're any less special or beautiful. They are described as meaningful and intimate, driving home the idea that Amish people value tradition and family. You could also definitely describe the bride's dresses as elegant. Depending on the community, brides are often allowed to choose their dress color but must wear an apron and a white cape. Some church communities also make it compulsory for brides to wear a black covering to their wedding services. Once she gets married, she won't ever wear that black covering again. She'll wear white from that day forward. And while we head to our local bridal stores to pick out the dresses we want, Amish women don't. Many brides sew their dresses or have someone else in their community sew them. The dresses are typically calf length with a plain cut. They're plain without lace or trim, but are definitely what you'd call elegant. Sure, white is the traditional wedding dress color, but most Amish brides buck the trend. Since they're already going to be wearing a white apron over the top, they opt for other colors like purple or blue. White is actually super uncommon. Number 8. They don't drive. To be fair, it's not just women who don't drive. Men don't either. They get from A to B by horse and buggy. Some communities also allow the use of bicycles. Lately, I've been seeing scooters, but in communities where rubber tires are prohibited, they have wooden wheels. But that's not to say you'll see a horse and buggy or a wooden-wheeled bicycle holding up traffic on a highway. No, they know better than that. If they need to travel long distances, they're allowed to hire a driver. They can also take buses, depending on the community they're in. Some Amish people are allowed to be passengers in a non-Amish person's vehicle, but they aren't allowed to sit on the driver's side, including the back seat behind the driver. The inconvenience of getting around in this way might make you wonder why they don't just give in and buy cars. Well, it's a bit more complicated than that. Horses and buggies reflect their values and traditions. The carriages pulled by the horses control the speed of life. They also believe that easy automotive transport can fragment modern families. They aren't entirely against cars, they just don't want them in their communities. They are concerned about what cars can do to their communities and families. Number 7. They have hobbies. It can sometimes seem like all Amish women do is cook, clean, work, and care for the children. However, just like the rest of us, they have hobbies. Ours just tend to be a bit more technology-driven, like binge-watching Netflix. Many Amish women spend their free time visiting friends and family members, sharing recipes, and playing board games. They also love canning foods, playing sports like basketball and quilting blankets. It's not uncommon for women to form quilting circles with up to 30 women all quilting together. Some quilts become family heirlooms passed down through multiple generations, while others are given as gifts for weddings and the birth of babies. Before technology came along, they spent time together, and to be fair, this is all something many of us could benefit from, rather than locking ourselves away in our homes with screens. Number 6. They stop schooling early. In our modern world, many girls aspire to pursue education as far as they can before embarking on a career they're passionate about. Amish girls, and boys for that matter, don't value education in the same way. Sure, they all start formal education at the same time as us, around the age of 6, and they also learn the same basic subjects like mathematics, reading, and writing. But by the time they're 14 years old, education is no longer necessary to them. They conclude formal education by the 8th grade, and most Amish teenagers won't go to secondary or tertiary school. Instead, they prepare to become adults in their own communities and learn apprenticeships or crafts. You probably aren't surprised to learn that schooling up until age 14 is very much reminiscent of our schooling before we had technology. There's no electricity and no modern technology. Most Amish schools have up to 40 students, often divided into 2 classes of older children and younger children. Most school days run from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. During these long days, children learn reading, writing, mathematics, faith, and sometimes even history and science. Now, you might be wondering who teaches the children. Mostly, Amish teachers are young unmarried women. They volunteer to teach the children and tend to have strong Amish faith. Number 5. They experience the outside world. It's easy to assume that Amish people have no idea what happens in the modern world around them, that they just isolate themselves in their families and stay as far away from everyone else as possible. But Amish people do get to experience the English world, as they call it, before deciding to become church members. It's known as Rumspringa, and it's a time during a young person's teenage years when they decide whether to join the church or leave the community altogether. Some teenagers choose to do their Rumspringa period in their own community, while others prefer to experience the outside world. During Rumspringa, parents relax their supervision and let their teenagers engage in outsider activities if they want to, like driving around in cars, watching TV, dancing, and drinking. When the period is over, they can return to their family home or not. According to some online reports, most Amish teens don't go too far from home, and about 85 to 90% of them return. The more strict the community, the lower the return rate. If you leave before being baptized into the church, you aren't shunned because you didn't break any laws. It's believed that about 15% of all Amish people leave their way of life. Sometimes they want more than they can get in their Amish community. Other times they're just curious. Number 4. They follow rules on Sundays. Amish people follow rules and guidelines on all days of the week, but there's a particular set of rules in place for Sundays. Everything they do on Sunday is in the name of faith and family. Surprisingly, Amish communities don't attend church every Sunday. Church services are only held once every second Sunday. On the Sunday in between, they spend time with their families. When they do attend services, Amish women must hand out treats and set up their houses before the services begin. They typically also make the faceless Amish dolls for young children to play with while the services happen. Once the service has been held, they organize the location of the next service, and everyone can leave the service and return to their homes. The following Sunday, when there is no church service, they relax, spend time with family, and prepare for the week ahead. Amish people are encouraged to rest and strengthen their faith in God on this day. Shops are also closed. Even the women are encouraged to relax. Typically, they'll prepare large meals on Saturday, ensuring enough leftovers for meals on Sunday. Since there's no service to attend, Amish families are encouraged to visit their extended families and neighboring churches. The youth get a day of relaxation too. They're allowed to socialize and even sing with their friends. Sunday is one of those cherished days in Amish communities. Number 3. They follow their own laws. Amish people are not above the law. If they break state laws, they can receive the same punishments as everyone else. But they also have their own internal rules that they basically follow as law. Most rules come from the Ordnung, which they can and often do revise when there's a need. However, most laws within the Amish Ordnung have been the same for centuries. Failure to abide by these rules isn't punishable by our standard law enforcement system, but they certainly are within Amish communities. For example, it is against Amish law to mingle with outsiders. You can also only marry baptized Amish community members. If you were to marry an outsider, you would be shunned and likely excommunicated. That said, if an outsider were to become baptized and adopt the Amish way of life, they would be allowed to marry an Amish person. Amish law also dictates that you must dress modestly. We've also covered body hair for women, but it's even against Amish law for men to shave or cut their beards. Well, that's not quite true in all cases. In some communities, men grow beards to signify that they're married. They don't do wedding rings. Laws can vary from one community to the next, but there are a few they all share. For example, they are all against violence in any form. This is why they aren't allowed to join the military, even in self-defense. Violence can be grounds for shunning. Number 2. They have traditional values. Not just women, but all Amish people hold traditional values. They're well known for living simple lives and dressing in plain clothing. Amish men and women are also known to be slow to adopt the conveniences most of us enjoy today. They don't want to utilize anything that might disrupt or replace their family time. If something has the potential to replace face-to-face conversations, such as mobile phones, they don't really want much to do with it. Membership in an Amish church typically begins with an adult baptism between the ages of 16 to 23. Once baptized, they follow the rules of the church known as the Ordnung. While these rules can vary across church districts, they typically involve prohibiting or limiting power line electricity, automobiles, and telephones. There are also strict clothing regulations. Most Amish families value family and church above all else. Formal education is discontinued after grade 8, and most Amish communities have their own one-room schools. While most of us have Social Security and commercial insurance, Amish people don't. They also don't perform military service. Number 1. They believe in the afterlife. We all have our own ideas about what happens when we pass away. Some people think there's nothing afterward, while others believe we go to heaven. Amish people believe that their passing mirrors what they had in life. That's why they always try to be humble and subject to God's will. In the Amish religion, they believe that only God decides when a person should pass. They don't question him on this subject. This is also why they don't believe in insurance. Every passing is part of his divine plan. Sure, they do grieve the loss of the people they love, but they get a great deal of comfort from the fact that they believe their loved ones have gone to be with God in the spiritual afterlife. Funerals in Amish communities aren't typically sad. They are celebrations, since the end of life is a gateway to God in heaven. This belief makes the pain of loss much more bearable for them. Like most communities and religions, Amish people have unique funeral traditions. They follow state laws if required, but they follow the rules from the Amish Ordnung. This involves washing and preparing the body for burial, and making clothes for them to be buried in. Bodies are typically embalmed since they aren't refrigerated in morgues and are mostly in open caskets. When that happens, a mortician from outside the community will transport them to a mortuary before returning them within a few hours. That said, embalming is not practiced in all communities. In more conservative ones, bodies are simply kept on ice, and a funeral is held quite quickly. We all have different religions and lifestyles, and we tend to know at least a little bit about most of them. But wow, did you know these facts about Amish women and Amish communities? Some of them are downright shocking. Do you know any other interesting facts about Amish women that we might have missed? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Also, don't forget to check out more of our cool content popping up on the screen right now. See you next time.